Hello, my name's Ron, and welcome to Layer 2 of the Creepypasta Iceberg. The Creepypasta Iceberg we will be covering today was made by the user Avargus on DeviantArt, who I will link in the description below. Just like how other icebergs work, the deeper we go down this iceberg, the more unknown and intense the entries become, with the most well-known and common entries at the top, and seemingly all the worst and least known entries at the bottom. Without further ado, let's get on to the video. The Cove creepypasta was written by Chris Straub. It refers to a group of people recalling a show called Candle Cove. They believe the show aired around 1971 or 1972 on a local channel, Channel 58. They recall that the plot detailed a story of a little girl who imagined herself to be friends with pirates. There was a pirate ship in the show called Laughingstock, and there was also a pirate named Percy, who wasn't good at being a pirate because he got easily scared. The ship tells Percy, "You have to go inside," whenever there's a scary place that has the treasure. The main villain and the sidekick were both marionettes, the main villain being called the Skin Taker, and the sidekick's name being Horace Horrible. Skin Taker wore a top hat and a cloak sewn up crazily, made up of children's skin. His mouth didn't open or close, and his jaw slid back and forth. The little girl asked him why his jaw moved like that, and he responded, "To grind your skin." Everyone starts recalling a chilling episode where the cameras cut to each of the characters' faces, who are just screaming, with marionettes and puppet characters flailing wildly. The little girl on the show starts crying and shaking. The last person in the thread asks their mom if they remember the Candle Cove TV show. However, the mom reveals the bone-chilling discovery that they were actually watching 30 minutes of TV static and dead air. The show never existed, except in their imaginations. The story is a long tale, but a brief summary goes as follows. A group of teens, including the narrator, go camping in the Alabama woods, where they encounter a series of terrifying and inexplicable events. They smell a strange metallic odor, see eerie figures in the woods, and are warned of a dangerous creature by a local boy, Tanner, and his father. Over the next 2 nights, they experience increasingly disturbing occurrences, including the appearance of an extra person among them, unidentifiable noises, and a voice mimicking one of their own. These events culminate in a final night of relentless terror, with the presence of an unknown entity inside their trailer. Eventually, they flee the woods at dawn, shaken and bewildered by their ordeal. This entry refers to the story of someone who came across the site normalcornfornormalpeople.com. Just replace the C with a P and you got it. The site was emailed to them, where the email stated, "Hi there, found this site. It's very nice. Thought you might like normalcornfornormalpeople.com. Pass it on for the good of mankind." It was a generic looking site, with the author seemingly ranting something boring on the front page that the narrator couldn't care less for. The site had the strange tagline, "Normal corn for normal people," a website dedicated to the eradication of abnormal sexuality. However, the narrator noticed that every word of the rant was a hyperlink. He then clicked on one. It led to a white page that had a long list of links with the site name, but with a slash and random numbers right afterwards. The narrator clicks on multiple links, although weary of getting absolutely demolished by viruses, which led to the first video, Peanut.avi. Now, nothing really happened in this video. It was just 30 minutes of a man, woman, and a dog in the kitchen. The woman makes a PB&J sandwich and the man sets it down for the dog to eat. The narrator wanted to share with others about the site on an image board that they frequented, but found out others had already started discussing it online. People on the board uploaded links they found from the site, most of which were uneventful, consisting of people talking to a cameraman in a room with nothing but desks and a few chairs. But they eventually came across videos that were actually sexual, and that's when things got weird. The narrator continues to detail several disturbing videos, ranging from a fat man in a chicken mask straight up jorking it in front of a woman talking about her violin playing, to the most disturbing one where a blonde woman is tied up to a mattress and is intentionally mauled by a seemingly mistreated and neglected chimpanzee due to a man in a black suit who led it into the room and closed the door. When that video was discovered by people on the thread had been deleted, and any attempts of trying to bring up the site got anyone, including the narrator, banned, even on other sites. The narrator attempts to reach out to the person who sent the link in the first place, but they never respond. The site was up 3 days after the last video was discovered, being taken down due to authorities presumably being contacted about it. The only proof left of the site is screenshots and videos that people saved and uploaded on torrents. "1999" refers to the story centered around a fictional Canadian TV channel called Caledon Local 21, and was written by Camden Lamont for his blog Slack LaLane on November 14, 2009. The story goes as follows. The narrator, Elliot, recounts the show Mr. Bear's Cellar that starred a man in a bear costume. The show had one episode where Mr. Bear asked children to write him letters. Elliot, who was a young boy at the time in 1999, wrote to Mr. Bear just as he had asked in the episode. He then gets a response from him, telling him to come to his address in Caledon. However, when Elliot's father took him there, police were already swarming the house, and Elliot never heard from Caledon Local 21 ever again. In the present day, Elliot investigates the history behind Caledon Local 21 and finds multiple tapes from the channel from a police station. Watching the final episode revealed that Mr. Bear ended up burning many children alive, with Elliot realizing he may have faced the same fate. At the end of the story, Elliot mentions receiving an email from someone claiming to be Mr. Bear, but believes it to be a prank. He says he will update everyone about it, but goes silent, implying that the email was the actual Mr. Bear, leading to the tragic conclusion that Elliot was then found by him. Zalgo is an eldritch horror who is described as the personification of chaos and evil. The malevolent being first originated from the Something Awful website, when a user named Goon Schmorky posted multiple versions of the comic Nancy and Archie on July 27, 2004. In these comics, the term Zalgo is referred to many times. Soon the fictional being's name was echoed across forums and image boards, where scrambled text started being associated with Zalgo, such as "he comes" and "he waits behind the wall." The internet further added on to the lore, stating that Zalgo resides in the Palace of Tortured Glass and is served by legions of monsters made from the very tears of the undead. It is also stated that Zalgo lives within all of mankind, waiting for that quote-unquote thin glass wall within them to crack in order for him to take over. NoEnd House is a haunted house story written by Brian Russell. The NoEnd House attraction appears once every year, but never in the same place, seemingly traveling all throughout the world. Whoever escapes earns the prize of $500, which to be honest, doesn't seem that worth it if you ask me. As the main participant in the story goes through the rooms, the scares become progressively worse, with the rooms seemingly defying physics. A pure dark room where absolutely nothing can be heard, a being following them in the shadows, phantom bugs crawling all over the narrator's skin, and a seemingly demonic entity were what the house presumably offered. After escaping the house, the participant went back home, happy it was over. However, traumatizing and unsettling events continue to happen, revealing the participant never left the haunted house at all. Feeling desperate and trapped, the participant attempts anything and everything to get out, but is there truly any escape to the shithole? This entry refers to the multiple secret messages from the game Fallout 3 that could be heard from the number station on the radio. All the conditions allowing you to hear this number station aren't entirely known. However, the main conditions you generally have to meet in the game are killing 3Dog, the Galaxy News radio show host, skipping over the quest Galaxy News Radio, where you help boost the station's signal so that it can be broadcasted further than just the immediate area, and destroy Raven Rock, which is the actual trigger for the Galaxy News Radio to turn into a number station, and will remain as such for the rest of the game. However, many players have met these conditions and have not been able to get the number station to replace the Galaxy News Radio. In the event it does actually work, right after destroying Raven Rock, you will get the message radio signal lost and then radio signal found a few seconds later. To actually hear the number signal, the confirmed places include within the immediate DC area, top of the Ferris wheel at Point Lookout, on top of some of the SATCOM arrays you can climb in the northern and western map area, on the highest point of Broken Bridge around Erifu, and more. When translating the codes, many players noticed that the codes seemingly tried predicting certain events in the future or revealed sinister plots from the past, with messages such as "The Queen has died today. The world mourns as on days like these we are all Brits. 1421, March 19th, 2014. I know that one's kind of off, about, 8 years off. There's also He's Dead, and blame will probably be placed on the actor Booth. Johnson better not cheat me out of the payment. 2215, April 15th, 1865. Have you watched my YouTube video yet? I uploaded myself kicking bums in the nuts. 2416, December 24th, 2012. And finally, I can't believe Britney's actually won an Oscar. 2133, February 27th, 2023. Jonathan Blake, a normal teenage boy, had a horrible breakup with the love of his life. After secluding himself from others, he then soon terminated himself with a hanging rope in his room and was found weeks later. His spirit, however, awoke once again, filled with wrath and anger, eventually turning into the Puppeteer. He works in the shadows, controlling humans the same way someone would control a puppet, and this would soon become his reason to exist again. The Puppeteer targets those dealing with loneliness and depression, stalking them for long periods of time, and convincing them that there's no other way of escaping the troubles of life than facing death. The way the puppeteer finishes off his victims can vary, including strangulating them with his strings, having them jump off high places, or any other method that's convenient. The victim's termination will be seen as self-induced, with no foul play or known influence from the puppeteer, which instills loneliness and depression to the victim's family and friends, resulting in this domino effect, as the puppeteer gains even more targets. Ted the Caver, a short horror story written by Ted Hickman, is considered to be the first creepypasta by many. The story was published by Ted on the Angel Fire website in 2001 and details the online diary of a man excavating an unexplored cave with his friends. The further he gets into the cave, the more increasingly disturbing the entries get. The narrator denies disclosing any info about their names or the locations he and his friend, referred to as B, are heading to for the safety of his readers. The narrator and B end up finding a small hole within the local mystery cave, which leads to a tight passage before opening up further in, revealing an unexplored passage. As both of them continue on, they see strange hieroglyphs on the walls, and are even met with gusts of wind. In the very final post, Ted tells his readers that he and his friends are going to bring a gun into the mystery cave after encountering what seemed to be a supernatural being and facing nightmares and hallucinations soon after. The blog was then never updated again after this post. This entry refers to the story of a married couple and their kid moving from New York to North Dakota in order to escape the busy life. After years of living in North Dakota, the husband soon became obsessed with a creature known as a seed eater. The seed eater is described as a humanoid bird creature that roams the forests. The creature stalks children and abducts them, or at least that's what the husband has known from the legends. On June 19th, 1987, the husband saw the creature in the flesh, just sitting in a tree on his front lawn. This is where his obsession started. The husband would seemingly follow the seed eater's commands, terminating kids and waiting for the seed eater to come by and retrieve the bodies. The seed eater particularly targeted children to indulge in their youth and to live forever. However, in the end, the creature's hunger eventually desired something bigger. Knowing his fate, the husband details how there's a journal in his room that details how to take the life out of the seed eater, and personally acknowledges the mental grip the creature has had on him, accepting his fate as the creature's next victim. A nameless woman arrived at the Cedars-Sinai Hospital in June of 1972. What was surprising wasn't how she was wearing a bloody white gown when she arrived, but it was how she had a mannequin-like appearance, yet had fluid movement just like any other normal person. Her face lacked certain facial features like eyebrows, and was smeared with makeup. Before collapsing to the ground, the woman pulls out a kitten from her mouth as well. The staff cleaned her in preparation for sedation. However, they were also too frightened to look directly at her. Fearing the worst, they restrained her until the authorities came. When telling her what their intentions were to eventually sedate her, she followed along without any opposition. But once the doctor prepared to inject her, she started fighting back. The staff tried holding her back, and the doctor asked her what she was. The woman smiles disturbingly, revealing rows of sharp teeth in her mouth. Being quickly distracted from the authorities' arrival, the doctor is soon caught by surprise and is bitten by the woman in his neck, severing his jugular. As the doctor laid there dying, the woman leans over to his ear and tells him, "I am God." The woman would then feast on the authorities and escape the hospital, never to be seen again. A surviving nurse from the incident would then later on refer to the woman as the Expressionless. This entry just refers to fictional stories of lost episodes from popular TV shows. These lost episodes are often depicted as disturbing, having entirely different tone and subject matter than the show usually has. These include examples such as Dead Bart and Sewer Slide Mouse.avi that I covered in the first layer of this iceberg, as well as Plankton Got Served, Squidward's Sewer Slide, the Tom and Jerry Lost cartoon, and Seinfeld's Lost episode. Ronald McDonald House. The story is a horror narrative about a troubled 15-year-old foster kid in Detroit who is given the option of going to the military school or the Ronald McDonald House. Choosing the latter, he finds himself in a sinister, windowless building with clown-like nurses who restrain and torture him. After being drugged, he wakes up in a cell, discovering that his personal belongings have been tampered with, and his photo album now contains gruesome crime scene photos of his former foster families, implying they have been all murdered. Realizing he must escape, he uses his lock-picking skills to flee his cell, only to discover more horrors, including children being crucified and drained of blood. Alarms sound, and he is pursued by the sadistic clown nurses through the building's basement, where he eventually escapes through a manhole to the streets above. Disoriented and finding a newspaper from 1992, he wanders until he reaches an abandoned McDonald's. Inside, he finds a laptop and types his story, noticing the Ronald McDonald statue outside seemingly coming to life and laughing at him, signaling his inevitable capture. There is a video on YouTube named Mereana, Mordegard, Glesgorv. The 2-minute video seemingly shows a photo of a man staring intently straight at the camera, expressionless, then shown grinning for the last 2 seconds. The fictional events around this video go as stated. The video was rumored to be removed by YouTube due to 153 people gouging their eyes out and mailing them to YouTube's main office in San Bruno. However, how these people were able to mail their eyes in the first place is still a mystery. Those same people were also said to have carved unidentifiable cryptic inscriptions into their forearms and terminated themselves in various ways. YouTube would constantly put up the first 20 seconds of the original video so that people won't go looking for the real thing. The video was only viewed by one of the YouTube staff members, who was stated to start screaming only 45 seconds in, and remains under constant sedation. Others in the same room that didn't view it but turned off the video said they heard a high-pitched drilling noise when the video was playing. The original uploader is still unknown to this day, and the man in the video has never been identified. The Smiling Man is a story that recounts a chilling encounter the narrator had while living in a major U.S. city and taking late-night walks. One night, around 1 a.m. to 2 a.m., the narrator notices a man dancing in an odd, waltz-like manner on a side street. The man, tall and lanky, in an old suit, has a wild-eyed expression and an unnaturally wide smile. As the narrator tries to avoid him by crossing the street, The man stops dancing and stares skyward, then crouches and sneaks towards the narrator with an exaggerated, cartoonish step. The narrator is frozen with fear as the man approaches and then, unexpectedly, turns away and starts dance walking again. Just as the narrator begins to relax, the man suddenly sprints toward them. The narrator runs to a well-lit street and, after checking repeatedly, finds that the man is gone. The incident leaves a lasting impression, and the narrator never takes another night walk, haunted by the memory of the man's terrifying and insane smile. The Buried Alive model, also known as the Berryman script, was intended to be found on the final story of the Pokemon Tower, which has now been replaced by the Marowak Ghost. According to the scripts assigned to it, the Buried Alive model was essentially supposed to be the boss of the tower. Once the player reached the top floor, the following conversation would have gone as follows. Buried Alive states, "You're here. I'm trapped. And I'm lonely. So very lonely. Won't you join me?" The Buried Alive model seems to be a decaying human corpse trying to claw its way out of the ground. It has been programmed to have 2 white hands, a Gengar, and a Muck, but the protocol for the boss's actions after it was defeated were never written. If the player won, the game would freeze. However, in the case the player lost, the Buried Alive exclaims, "Finally, fresh meat," soon followed by multiple lines of gibberish. The typical game over screen would appear, but in the background you would be able to see the Buried Alive boss devouring the player. The cartridge would then download this set image to the internal memory contained on the Game Boy, replacing the title screen, while the sound file staticmesh.wav would play in the background. And to be honest, the sound file just sounds like a distorted lavender town mixed with a dude eating and slobbering the mic at the same time, so do with that information as you will. In this entry, the narrator recounts a traumatic event from their childhood that changed their relationship with dogs and led to lifelong paranoia. As a child, the narrator loved animals and wanted to be a veterinarian. For their 12th birthday, they received a puppy named Theo, and they formed a close bond. On January 1st, 1994, the narrator saw a man in their yard who picked up Theo and, without breaking eye contact with the narrator, killed the dog by cutting its throat. The man then walked away, leaving the narrator frozen in shock. When the narrator's mother discovered the scene, she assumed the narrator had killed Theo, leading to therapy sessions where the narrator struggled to describe the man's forgettable face. The incident deeply affected the narrator, who has since been haunted by the man, seeing him occasionally in crowds or dreams. The story ends with the narrator asserting the man's real existence and constant presence in their life. Penpal refers to the series of 6 stories posted by the user 1000 Vultures on r/nosleep on Reddit. It revolves around a protagonist who recounts strange and disturbing events from his childhood that begin with a Penpal project in school. The protagonist's Penpal, Josh, becomes increasingly obsessive and dangerous, leading to a series of eerie and unsettling encounters. The story is a really long read, so I will link it in the description for those interested. However, this is essentially how the first story goes. In the first story, titled as Footsteps, a young child recalls a chilling experience from their childhood when they would hear footsteps resembling their heartbeat at night, disrupting their sleep. One night, they wake up in the woods, disoriented and cold, with no recollection of how they got there. After a harrowing journey, they make it back home, only to find the house lit up and the police officers there. They discover a note, supposedly from the child, stating they were running away, but the child insists they didn't write it, casting doubt on the events that transpired. In Mr. Widemouth, a creepypasta story, a child diagnosed with mononucleosis encounters a small creature named Mr. Widemouth. The creature, resembling a Furby with a large mouth, befriends the child, but starts showing sinister behavior. Mr. Widemouth urges the child to engage in dangerous activities, like imagining a trampoline outside the window, or juggling with knives. The child becomes frightened, and eventually leaves the place, only to return later to find the house burned down, and the trail Mr. Widemouth once told him that he had many friends go down, which the narrator ultimately discovered led to a children's cemetery. Mr. Widemouth is a manipulative and persuasive creature, targeting children for his deceptive tricks, although his origins and fate remain mysterious. The Mario Creepypasta is a fictional horror story centered around a haunted version of the popular video game character, Mario. In the story, the protagonist finds a cartridge of an old Mario game that behaves strangely and seems to have been tampered with. As the protagonist plays through the game, they encounter disturbing and eerie elements such as glitched graphics, unsettling music, and strange messages appearing in the game. The game gradually becomes more sinister, with Mario's character taking on a malevolent and menacing presence. The story unfolds as the protagonist delves deeper into the haunted game, uncovering dark secrets and facing terrifying challenges. In this story, a gas station employee named the narrator starts noticing strange occurrences after a new coworker named Jeremy joins the team. Motor oil keeps disappearing from the station after Jeremy shifts, despite no evidence of theft on the security tapes. When the narrator reviews the tapes for evidence, they witness a bizarre time loop where the same customers repeat their purchases every hour. Jeremy's behavior becomes increasingly unsettling, culminating in a creepy incident where his face appears on the camera and the motor oil disappears mysteriously. Eventually, Jeremy vanishes. The narrator experiences a time freeze, and it's revealed that Jeremy's listed address is an empty lot where a house burned down in the past. The FBI gets involved, but the story ends with secrecy and unresolved questions about Jeremy's true nature and the strange events at the gas station. This creepypasta goes as follows. The narrator in the story collects bootleg Pokemon games and comes across one called Black Version at the flea market. The game starts similarly to Pokemon Red, but has a unique Pokemon called Ghost, with the move Curse that can make opposing Pokemon disappear. After completing the game, the player's character becomes an old man and revisits the locations from the game. Eventually, the player faces off against Ghost in the final battle and gets stuck in a black screen, forcing a reset of the game. When trying to start up the game, New Game was the only option, meaning the game had erased the previous file. The narrator tries to derive the message the game was trying to convey, theorizing that it was the inevitability of death, the pointlessness of it all, or the creator being just plain edgy. Gateway of the Mind refers to the video with the same title posted on YouTube by the user Creepypasta on July 15th, 2012. The video is rumored to be a man victim to an experiment gone wrong. Said experiment goes as follows. A group of scientists attempt to speak with God by depriving a test subject of their 5 senses, thinking that they would interfere with connection with him. The man starts hallucinating and starts talking to ghosts, then eventually going insane from the lack of stimulation. The last words of the test subject were, "I have spoken with God, and he has abandoned us," before eventually dying off. The actual video linked with the creepypasta is really the work of a French artist named Olivier de Sagazan, who created the video as a display of performance art and posted it on his website, which I will link in the description below. A scientist named Zimmerman initiated a secretive project called the Harbinger Experiment in 1971, aiming to explore extended isolation's effects on the human mind and prove the existence of the supernatural. Zimmerman recruited a team, including a doctor, the narrator, and selected 3 subjects for the experiment. However, the experiment's true purpose was darker: to open a portal to another world and trap entities and human hosts. The subjects, unaware of this, were confined to rooms underground, while Zimmerman's team monitored them. The experiment officially began in 1987, and the narrator arrived a month early, noting the tension between those motivated by money and Zimmerman's devoted followers. On October 15th, 1987, the experiment began with the subjects sealed in rooms and Zimmerman chanting in a strange language. Strange phenomena occur, including shaking, screams of pain, and a creature appearing in one room. The security team is sent to investigate, resulting in one member dead and another severely injured. The situation escalates with panic, chaos, and violence among the staff. A monstrous creature kills many, including Zimmerman, and the surviving narrator seals the facility before escaping. The story ends with a sense of impending doom, as the narrator believes the creature, Subject 3, is coming for them. The video allegedly shows a woman in distress, possibly suffering from body integrity identity disorder. However, the truth behind the video's origin was later revealed to be a work of fiction, with portions of it released on the internet to add to the story's intrigue. The story's association with actual found footage contributed to its initial believability. In reality, the woman in the video was named Sharon, who lost her arm in an accident. The interview depicted her struggles with trauma. Despite the debunking, the original creepypasta remains an eerie read, which goes as follows. A person recalls a strange and disturbing experience that started at a party in an abandoned industrial area. They woke up early and decided to leave, spotting a computer tower near a dumpster outside. Taking it home, they found a video on it titled Barbie.avi, showing a woman in distress. She cried and mouthed the word "skin" repeatedly. Later, a shaky clip showed someone walking in the woods. Intrigued, they investigated and found an abandoned house with odd details like new doors and a clean bathroom tarp. They heard a moaning sound and fled, realizing it might have been a water pipe. The experience left them unsettled, confused as to why there was running water in an abandoned house in the middle of the woods, and was ultimately unwilling to return there ever again. Hope you guys enjoyed that video. Doing this type of format actually seems like it's getting easy for me, so hopefully I can provide y'all with other layers sooner than later. If you have any criticisms about how I can possibly improve on how I make these videos, please leave them in the comments section below. as I would love to hear your feedback. If y'all want me to make videos further focusing on the entries I covered in any of these iceberg videos and providing more detail, or even on other topics as well as outside of this iceberg, just let me know. And yeah, that's about it. I'll see you on the next one.